Welcome to Massive Passive Cash Flow, the podcast that guides professionals to financial prosperity. Join our community and let's start building your wealth. Here's your host, Gary Wilson.
Welcome back to the Massive Passive Cash Flow podcast. I'm Gary Wilson, your host, and I'm glad you're listening again. We got a great guest today, Whitney Elkins-Hutten, okay, all the way from beautiful Colorado, one of my favorite states. And if you have not been there, you make it the top of your bucket list. It's not a top destination area by accident, man. You can do so many fun things out there. And one of the things you can do, by the way, is make money. It's a great place to invest in. So first off, Whitney, thank you so much for joining us. I know we're lucky to have you. I've learned more about you. We got a lot in common, and this is going to be a lot of fun. So thank you for being here.
Thank you so much. This is going to be fun.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. So everybody listening, don't take notes now if you're driving. When you get home, you can listen to it, look at the show notes and so forth. But if you're not driving, this is one of the ones you want to get out pencil and paper or pen and paper, whichever you prefer. So let's first start with paint a picture of yourself, because I know you got a very interesting lifestyle and background, and I want people to hear about this so they have context. And when we get into the actual meat and potatoes of investing, it'll make a lot more sense. If you don't mind sharing, you can go as deep as you want,
Well, I have a very uncharacteristic educational background into real estate and where I'm at today. So currently, where I'm at is I am the Director of Investor Education at PassiveInvesting.com. We're a private equity group focusing on multifamily, self-storage, express car washes, and real estate debt in the southeast part of the United States. I also run a wealth consulting company, ashwealth.com. I'm the founder there, and I help investors, craft their wealth plan. I'm not a financial advisor. I'm kind of almost, anti-financial advisor. I know that's somebody else's trademark out there, but really help people understand how money works and how they can fortify their financial position and grow into investing, whether it's in real estate or businesses. Now, I didn't go to school for that. I went to school in public health and, did a small stint in medical school. And my foray into real estate really starts back in 2002. I bought a house with a significant other. Relationship fell apart, and I had the house, and it was in dire need of a rehab, and I had no idea what to do. YouTube didn't exist back then. So I got my friends, paid them in sushi, beer, and pizza, and we rehabbed a property. And when I sold that property 11 months later, I thought this property, honestly, Gary, was going to end me financially. But when I sold it, I'm like, wait a second, I just made $52,000. And then when I started calculating everything, I'm like, I hadn't paid for my housing expenses at all. My roommates had been covering that, and I actually been making money every month. And that was really the first realization for me that I could unhook my value in the world to how much time was involved in me creating that value. And so, at that point in time, I wasn't in full time in real estate. I was still trying to, build my career in public health, stayed in that arena for at least 11 more years. But on the side, I'm investing in real estate. And then eventually it dawned on me one day, about 15 years later, maybe I'm a slow learner, that I'm like, wait a second. My identity isn't necessarily tied to this. And I can still create impact in the world and educate people. Why am I not doing it in real estate, where I'm, can, really produce massive amounts of value? And so, when I made that transition mentally and emotionally, about 8 years ago, that's when the real wheels of my investing career really took off. Up until that point, I scaled a large single family rental portfolio, had done a little bit of investing with partners in multifamily real estate. And then I transitioned onto more the institutional grade asset side, private equity side, and blew the doors off my portfolio, both from active holdings, but also passive holdings, learning how to invest in other people's businesses. So I could not only diversify my portfolio, but also get my time back, which was super important.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate you sharing it with you. So I want everybody to really pay attention here. vast majority of us did not start off in the world of real estate investing. We started off somewhere else on a different, almost a different path or different life journey. But bear that in mind, because no matter where you are, no matter what you're doing, you can always begin. And if you haven't started yet, there's no better time than right now. And people, I get this question all the time. Well, Gary, it looks like we're at the top of the market, or all the prices have just gone up dramatically, and now the interest rates have gone up, and gee, why do I wait? And my answer to them is always, you know what? Because I want you to learn from my life experience that the answer is to not wait to buy real estate. The answer is buy real estate and then wait, because it's going to produce for you. It's a mathematical certainty. It may go up and down a little bit over the years, but overall it's going to go up dramatically. And generally it's leveraged. So you're not putting in $1 million in $1 million property. You might be putting in maybe 100,000, 10%, and the other 900,000 is leverage. So if you double your property value, you really didn't double your net worth. You went from 100,000 to 1.1 million, right? So just remember, there's always deals out there. Always be looking. It's just like my granddad used to say about being married, ABC, always be courting. And investing, always be looking, always be on the hunt. So, in any case, enough of my people aren't paying to hear me, they're paying to hear you. So take us into a step in your transition. So you went from where you were in public health, and now I'm guessing you're full blown, full scale into real estate in a couple of different ways. So let's talk about one of those ways. What was the first of the things you do now? Which one evolved first? And tell us about that story, and maybe give us an example if you don't mind.
Yeah, definitely. Well, I'll back it up a little bit before then. I had I think anybody can identify. There's always that one year in your life where you're like, how much else can go wrong? Well, for me, that was like 2017. And long story short, my grandfather had already passed away, and just a few months later, then my husband had a major mountain biking accident. He's fine, guys, but he broke his neck. Totally fine. He's mountain biking. It makes me nervous, but he goes. But that was huge. We had a little baby girl at home. And so that was when I really realized, hey, listen, if I needed to step away, our real estate holdings could provide for us. And that was very comforting, because I did have to step away for a couple weeks. But then a couple weeks later, my mom passed away. And I'm like, now I'm not stepping away for a couple weeks. I'm stepping away for months in order to help, keep our house afloat, settle not only my grandfather's estate, but also settle in my mother's estate. And guys, just because there's the word estate there doesn't mean it actually has money. It can actually mean it doesn't have money, but at the end of the probate period. And so this was just huge. This was a huge transition for me. And at that point in time, I had been investing in single family real estate. We had over 36 properties. We're doing about 5 flips a year. I'm managing a lot of that myself. I'm still working. It wasn't passive cash flow. It's passive in the eyes of the IRS, but it wasn't passive with my time. And so that was really the impetus for me. I was like, okay, I love what real estate can do for me. I see the potential here, but am I in the right area of real estate to achieve what I really, truly want to? And so we sat down, my husband and I was like, hey, listen, we need to scale. But I don't know if that's going to be us going and buying larger buildings together or with partners, or do we need to actually look at these couple weird investments I have in my self-directed IRA that I'm not really sure what they are. And those were, guess what? Investments in other people's multifamily properties. And when we started dissecting the numbers, certainly if I had a more active role in the larger real estate holdings, I would get reward better. Right? Higher risk, higher reward. But at the same time, we had a lot of capital to deploy because of how we had structured our portfolio. I'm like, I need to diversify. So we decided to do both. I would scale the active side of the real estate holdings, but also with this additional capital that we were bringing in through cash flow, repositionings, refinances, stuff like that, we were going to start, diversifying our portfolio into things like self-storage, into express car washes. areas of real estate that I had no intention and really had no business, learning how to do full time, right? What do they say? Like, put all your eggs in one basket and watch it like a hawk. For me, that was multifamily real estate, residential real estate.
Yeah.
And so fast forward, a couple years, I'm sitting here going, wow, this is amazing. I'm doing really well in the active side of the real estate business. But what unlocked the financial freedom for me was the passive holdings, right? Because if you look at, the cash flow quadrant, you're all the time, you're trying to figure out, how do I take this income that I'm generating through self-employment, through employment, self-employment, even in my active business, and invest it, right? Because that's where true financial freedom is actually unlocked.
Yeah. Yeah. Multifamily is where I got started too. Well, actually, my very first property was a 4-bedroom, 2-bathroom rancher with my college roommate. His name Socrates. His dad was a Greek immigrant in Virginia Beach, and we each owned half the house. And we rented out the other 2 bedrooms to other guys. Yeah, we were the original house hackers, I guess. And then, but when I started going full bore into it, I started off by buying 2 fourplexes together, and then in the first year, I actually acquired 30 units. But it was all multifamily. It wasn't until later where I got into storage and some office and retail and things like that. But the thing about multifamily is you never run short of clients who are your tenants. I mean, your tenants are choosing to pay you every single month. And now there's so many exit strategies you can use. It's still today. It's probably even a better investment it was when I started all those years ago. So if you don't mind sharing, um, where were you investing? Was it one area, or did you have investments in multiple areas? Or tell us a little bit about that. I want people to feel some people have different strategies. Some people like staying local. Some people realize, well, gee, if I had the right team, I could invest in all of Florida and Texas and everywhere.
Yeah. So, I had already started divesting out of the state that I lived in pretty early. And that was like, with our, single family rental holdings.
Mhm.
And so I was already used to building teams out of state. My first 2 states that I went into is Indiana and Kansas City there. When we got into the multifamily side of the business, I had 2 partners, and I was the minority partner in that business. And we were focused on, assets in largely Texas. I knew Texas. I was comfortable with Texas. I don't tell anybody here in Colorado, but my family's from Texas, my side of the family. So you don't say that in Colorado. But anyways, long story short, that was what I was comfortable with that. And we were partnering with other people that had like boots on the ground, property managers and stuff like that. And so, I would say, I think this is something that fast forward, say like 4 or 5 years, I started looking at all of my personal holdings passively and actively. And that's when I realized, and it was during the storm, what was it, 2021, whenever the power grid went down in Texas, I went, oops, I am so heavily concentrated in Texas. Now, I knew not to be heavily concentrated in any one city, but that was, I had a few experiences handed to me. There was COVID, that was like all across the United States. Then you have Texas, that was the whole state going down. I was like, wow, okay, I really need to start really diversifying geographies. I don't suggest investors start there, right? But maybe start with 2 or 3 markets. Don't go crazy, right? And get like 15, because then it's really hard for you to analyze your portfolio and figure out where you need to double down. But I became super concentrated in Texas, and I was like, okay, I need to create more diversification. And as a passive investor, this side of my portfolio, how can I create that diversification? You can diversify through your operator, through the market you invest in, and the deal that you go into. And so I was doing really well with the operator and the deals. What I had since needed to learn was, how do I diversify that market?
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. If you're now, I appreciate you sharing that too, by the way. It's making me think of other questions. So, when it comes to diversifying, like I mentioned earlier, I started getting into office and retail and things like that. And there's 2 things you're involved in that I well, actually I did do storage. I'm sorry. But car washes have become a very big thing in a lot of the states where people are coming to. I mean, it's usually the sunshine states, Arizona, all the over to Florida and up to North Carolina. In Florida, where I spend part of my time, and it's actually my home state, uh, where we've seen a lot of development of car washes, and so I started looking into that. It's an amazing opportunity. But can you touch on that a little bit about the car washes, and then maybe go into the storage after that? Because I want people to hear storage. A lot of I've had people say, "Well, it's too late for storage." I was like, "I'm not so sure about that." I mean, it was obviously taking off in the '90s, but the population is still increasing. People still have stuff.
Yeah. Well,
Um,
and I'll share how I view this. And so, when you're, first starting off, and this is an interesting environment, right? The past 12 to 24 months, what we've been in, because you don't want to necessarily build a core portfolio in something where the asset prices continue to decline, right? You need to understand where it's going to go in the next 3 to 5 years and be comfortable with that trajectory. But if you think of it just kind of like pulling back out, like why multifamily still has an incredible amount of runway. And I know you asked about self-storage and car wash, so I am going to answer your question here.
okay.
But it starts with multifamily, right? Like we have to think about, what do people need? They always need a roof over their head. We're
Mhm.
4.3 million. That's on the light side, like the lowest stat that I've seen, underbuilt
Right.
in residential housing. We're onshoring more jobs. There's all this, all these pressures, these macroeconomic pressures to that are going to put pressures on certain locales to continue to build housing. Now, real estate's regional, we're seeing pullbacks in other areas. If you're in the middle of like San Francisco, like right now, like that's a pretty tough market to be in.
Right.
Certain other areas are completely overbuilt. So we want to look at areas that have that supply demand metrics. So I look for areas where the housing is in a right supply demand balance. Okay.
Okay.
So the reason why I look at multifamily first, especially looking
Yeah.
at where the success is going to be with self-storage and express car wash, if you've got great supply demand, right? The next logical thing is, if people are renting a multifamily unit, they probably can't fit all their stuff there. And so they're going to need, a lot of people through, death dislocation as well are going to need units. And so
Yeah.
we love our stuff as Americans and we love our cars. And so that's a
Yeah.
natural complement to building out a portfolio. But I still, again, for me, I like those areas where multifamily is doing really well. And then, like, generally the self-storage in that area is doing well too. And then that's also where the areas where a lot of people are flocking to. And what do they bring? They bring their stuff and they bring their cars.
Did you know that you can participate in class every Monday? We call it Monday Night Live, 7 p.m. Eastern, with me and dozens of other investor agents from around the country, in fact, the world. Every Monday, totally free. No selling, no recruiting, just straight up education on anything and everything in real estate. And we have a lot of good guests coming on once or twice a month, bringing in expertise on subjects like how to buy a house with crypto. Okay. How about them apples? What about AI? How's AI affecting our business? How about the metaverse, blockchain processing? We're already using it in title work. So come on to Monday Night Live. Be ready to take notes and ask questions, because it's live and engaging, and you get to participate by asking questions and meeting others. So we'll see you there. Go to realestateWithGaryWilson.com, click on the resource tab, drop down, and you'll see Monday Night Live. And in there, you can see one of the most recent classes. But more importantly, you can register for class as many as you want going up to like the end of the year, I believe. So in any case, do that. We'll see you on Monday Night Live. Look forward to meeting you in person. Take care. Yeah, that's it. Yeah, what's funny is one point I had a lot of properties, and I recognized how much stuff people actually did have. So wherever we had garages, we started spinning the garages off separately and running them under separate leases. And we never got any pushback from it. I mean, sometimes a tenant, if he was already there and used to using it, pushed back. We were like, well, this is our business model. You don't have to rent it if you don't want to. You can have a yard sale and get rid of some of your stuff. But we're gonna rent these out. And then we started putting storage in basements of the bigger properties, building our own storage. And at one point we had several hundred storage units across several properties. We had one property, I think we had 90 storage units in it. It was an apartment complex. And each one had its own garage entry underneath the complex. It was an amazing setup and just perfect for us. And we had people, even people that ran newspaper routes, would rent a storage unit because that's where all the newspapers would go. And that's where they did all the binding and the wrapping and all that, and then ship them off in the cars to go deliver. And it was a lot cheaper than them doing that somewhere else.
Mhm.
So we had all kinds of people renting for all different reasons. But in any case, I like the fact that you thought about it strategically. You were mindful. You started with the housing, right? Multifamily housing, and you looked at your market, who the people are renting your housing, what their needs were, and clearly, you're right. Americans, we can't help ourselves. I mean, it just, you know, we just accumulate stuff. So you got a natural market there. You didn't have to go find another market. You already have the market.
Mhm.
So in any case, pretty interesting stuff. By the way, I have to ask if you don't mind sharing. Is there a favorite strategy you have to identify and analyze properties, or are you using multiple channels like agents, different websites you use to determine the movement of people, things like that? Or if you don't mind sharing just like a strategy that you've really learned to like and love.
Yeah. So, on the multifamily side, we, in passiveinvesting.com, we use CoStar data, as our primary data set. Also, we like sourcing deals from developers. And that is a, strategy that we started implementing in 2019 for a variety of reasons. One, like it was the darling strategy was like buy a property that was in dire need of a rehab, increase the value, raise the rents. Right. Well, we had already started to see, labor pricing increase. We were already starting to see construction supplies increase. I know that just was exacerbated by COVID, but the trend actually started about 8 months before COVID shut down. And so we had
Hmm.
already started to see that. And we actually had, two properties, one that was a Class A property, recent build, and then another property that was like a B plus that, we were rehabbing. And it just wasn't worth it to us for the extra 1% IRR to take that additional risk. And so we were like,
Hmm.
that one that takes us out of the competition with what 95% of other operators were doing, but that allowed us to get a kind of a jump start on building these relationships with developers and people that were holding these newer institutional grade assets, those Class A assets. So as far as markets, we look to our relationships. We also look to like the data, one of those being CoStar. Same thing with self-storage. We're
Hmm.
looking at properties where we can do more expansion on the property, so add additional units, not
Hmm.
so much doing rehab, but adding additional units to the property. That's what we love. And a lot of these markets with the self-storage overlap very nicely with what we're doing with the multifamily. Now,
Yeah.
express car washes, how we, find the markets there. Initially we started off like, other operators are doing in the space, which is, looking at these new builds or, where they were in the major metropolitan service areas. And then it dawned on us one day, we're like, wait a second. They're popping up all over the place in the city centers. Let's
Hmm.
build a couple units outside the city centers and more tertiary markets that are being underserved, that need car
Hmm.
washes, that can, we could really put ourselves in that Saturday morning routine. That's where people are living, right? That's where they're running
Hmm.
all their errands. Let's put ourselves like right next to their house, right next to where they're running all their errands and see how that does. And anyways, that just took off like hotcakes. There's no other
Yeah.
word that I can come up with that. And we can be in for a much lower basis. So we're really looking for those tertiary markets that are very close to a major metropolitan service area, but
Yeah.
on their own can stand. As far as like being in the right location, the right submarket,
Hmm.
the right we can have the facility on the right street corner with the right traffic count coming past it.
Yeah. Well, I love the whole concept of putting the car wash where the people are. Because think about it, they're on the way home from work. They've got to hit the grocery store, and your car wash is right between the grocery store and their neighborhood. And they're thinking, well, I could either take an hour and wash it myself tomorrow, or take 5 minutes and go through right now and get it done now. I mean, it's just classic, proximity based, marketing. Be where the people are. you know.
Mm-hmm.
So
And try
now you
not to
mentioned
compete.
Express. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
And try not to compete, right?
Yes, exactly. Yeah, if you can eliminate competition, that's another, playing in deep and in business, guys, this is an important lesson. All entrepreneurs want to play offense, including me. I started off just building, 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 playing offense, scoring points, making money. And I paid no attention to defense. I wasn't watching the back door, didn't care about taxes. I said, my tax account's going to do that stuff. But the reality is playing defense is vitally important. And what he just mentioned is competition. Competition can erode at your profit if you're not paying attention. So it's easier to go where there is none, go where they aren't, you know. And if nothing else, at least you can be first to market. That's pretty good. Believe me, just being first there is one of the most important things. I know we've been copied lots of times, but I used to worry about it. But anymore, I'm thinking they never seem to catch up because you're always first. It's amazing how that works. Well, I appreciate you sharing that. Now, the company you mentioned Express, is that the company Express Car Wash? Is you doing franchises, or is that what's the model? I guess. I mean, are you buying the land and then a company comes and builds for you, or?
No, so our brand is Hurricane Car Wash, and
Ah,
it's a type of car wash, which is an express car wash. So there's really four different types of car washes. There's the one, brick and mortar, I guess, like you drive in and you drop your coins or scan your credit card and you wash your car yourself. There's the one that's attached to a gas station, right? That's just an actual added cost center for the gas station. And then on the flip side, there's the full service, right? You're driving up and somebody's vacuuming your car for you. It goes through a short tunnel for a wash, and then it's getting waxed and shined and dried by hand by an army of people. There's
mm-hmm.
a in between there, the convenience of the express car wash, the ones that are attached to a gas station, and then the full service. There's a hybrid in here where we can actually use technology in the tunnel to read the subscription, this membership that this person has bought, and understand, okay, what kind of wash are they getting? What kind of shine are they getting? Are they getting an entire shine? Are they getting a wax at the end? Do they have free vacuuming, with their wash as well? So
Mm-hmm.
we're leveraging on technology in these facilities. Instead of washing maybe 100 cars a day, we can wash 400 to 500 cars a day. And we can
Mm-hmm.
run that facility with like 2 to 3 full-time employees, as opposed to having like an army of 10 or 15 people in the case of a full
Yeah.
service car wash. And so it really gives a nice marriage of timing and convenience, and then also the customer service aspect of it.
Yeah. Well, I love it. So you've got a great mix. You've got car wash, storage, and multifamily. What is it? What does the next step look like for you? Is there any other sector you're looking to explore, or are you looking to expand this three sectors you have into different geographical areas, or what do you see on the horizon?
Yeah, I think personally and professionally, we're in a really nice market to add two additional things to the portfolio. And I know we're doing this personally, my husband and I, but also professionally at passiveinvesting.com. And that's expand our debt holdings and our preferred equity holdings. And so, right now there's been a vacuum created by, banks pulling back money, what they're, willing to lend at, how much they're willing to lend, what kind of balance sheet exposure they want to have to different sectors in real estate. And so for us, we love residential real estate. So we have a debt fund that's focused on fix and flip residential real estate. And that is a nice place to park capital, park cash. You can use it as a short-term, kind of parking space, if you will, like to earn a return. And we have a liquidity feature with it. Or for those, investors that have an IRA and want to put, an asset that has more type of active income associated with it and take advantage of the tax benefits that an IRA can give. That pairs really nicely with an IRA. We also have a compounding feature there. So I think debt is a great asset to add to the portfolio. And then preferred equity. And we also have a preferred equity fund where we are partnering with operators because it hasn't all been doom and gloom. And I'm sure you've experienced this as well for the last, 12 to 24 months. There are assets, plenty of multifamily assets out there that are operating just fine. The net income's growing, the occupancy is going up, vacancy is coming down. But there may have three stresses to them. One, they need to do a refinance before the end of 2024 or into 2025, or they need to purchase another rate cap. Okay, and it's a little expensive, maybe more than they originally had planned for, which is most cases. Or there goes back to like those construction costs have inflated on them, and they just need an infusion of say like $1 million to $3 million to complete the business plan. But all told, after that, in a couple of years, it stabilizes, the market recovers, asset prices begin to climb again as rates come down. Those assets are going to be positioned extremely well to sell. And so we're really looking to partner with those seasoned operators that just have that little bit of a capital need. But that puts the limited partner in a unique position to solve that issue through a preferred equity fund where they're putting themselves right behind the senior debt in the capital stack, right? They're getting locked in a nice preferred return. And then, in the case of our fund, which isn't the case in everybody's fund, there is a back-end kicker when the property sells.
Okay. Well, I tell you what, we're definitely getting to some, I have so many more questions, but I know we're going to get short on time. And I want to bring up a few things. So for everybody listening, you just, you're getting ready to launch a brand new book. Is that right?
It actually launched today on BiggerPockets. Money for Tomorrow.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, Money for Tomorrow, How to Build and Protect Generational Wealth.
Money for Tomorrow, How to Protect Generational Wealth. Okay. Now, where can we get the book? I guess BiggerPockets is going to be one of the locations, right?
Yeah, you can go to biggerpockets.com/money for tomorrow. It's available for pre-order at like Barnes & Noble and Amazon.com as well. But I really encourage people, it's kind of like supporting your local bookstore. BiggerPockets is the publisher of the book, and they've put together some nice bonuses for people that order the book there.
Okay. Well, and actually I know those guys too. I know a couple of the founders, and they're best. They're probably the biggest investor organization on the planet. In fact, I'm pretty sure they are. But now, so the audience for the book, would it appeal more for people exploring the world of investing, or is it more maybe for people that are already investing, or who's would you say the audience is?
Yeah, so the premise of the book is I give a blueprint on how to build and protect generational wealth, and these are through all my learnings over 20 plus years of investing. And it was the book that I was searching for. There's plenty of books and stories out there, but you're still like left at the end of the book going, well, what did Ray Dalio mean by this? Right? Like, where's the checklist? Like, walk me through the steps. And so really this book is designed to do two things. One, for the new investor, somebody just starting out, it's the blueprint. Like, this is how you get started. Like, it's going to give you a ton of momentum to one, understand how money works. Two, how to protect the money that you are currently bringing in so you have more of it to invest. Three, understand how to invest. What are the rules of the game? What are those principles? So you don't get scared by the headlines. So you don't go through 2023, early 2024 nervous, or do we have a recession coming? You're not going to be scared. You're going to be investing in every market. And then how to pass that on to the next generation. Now, for the seasoned investor, it's a great blueprint as well, because we didn't have it growing up, right? So I have people, within my circle that, I gave the book to, and a lot of them were like, oh, smokes, I didn't do this, or this. I need to go back and do all that. I was like, okay, like that's the whole point. How can you put yourself in the most, fortress-like position to be an investor to where you are prepared for anything that the market throws at you.
Yeah. Well, I love the title, Money for Tomorrow, and I love the I guess we call the subtitle, protecting generational wealth. Is that it? Did I get that
How
right?
to
Or
how to build and protect generational
how
wealth.
to build and protect? There you go. Now you mentioned some of the categories of investors, people starting out, people who need to learn the techniques of protecting it. But for how do you work with these folks? I understand you also train through ashwealth.com. Is that correct? That's the website that's sort of a hub for your training. Tell us a little bit about that, because I want people to take notes, guys, on this, because if you need help, um, clearly Whitney is bringing the golden nuggets today, and I'm sure you can sense that she's the kind of person you probably want to work with. So take notes here. Go ahead and explain a little bit about that if you don't mind.
Yeah. So, at ashwealth.com, that is, really where I work one-on-one with investors to help them, again, start getting to the point where, three different phases, three different types of people. One, get them to the point where they can start investing. Maybe it's their first down payment or their first, get them to accredited investor status so they can start investing in private equity deals, right? Get them to that threshold. Two, after that, do they want to go into active investment holdings? Do they want to buy their own real estate? Do they want to have their own multifamily, portfolio? Or do they want to go the other direction and learn how to invest in other people's deals? Now, I do work with investors at passiveinvesting.com. You can find me, the website's actually passiveinvestingwithwhitney.com. That's a little subpage there. And that's where I work with passive investors, people that have a higher and better use of their time. Maybe you're an entrepreneur, or business owner. Maybe you're a realtor who goes, oh, smokes, I need to diversify my portfolio as well and start investing for my future. We help our investors understand what it is. What does passive investing mean? What is private equity deals? What do they actually look like? How do you deploy capital into this market, into safe deals that help you preserve capital, create cash flow, build equity, and generate those tax benefits?
Yeah. Well, that's awesome. And I want to thank you for all that you've given today. I mean, it's really good, actionable things that people can use, different sectors you're investing in, different locations, how you go about that. And understand you also have a podcast, Passive Investing Made Simple. Is that you're in all the channel, Amazon and all those channels, I
Yeah,
guess, or
YouTube. It's a YouTube show, but we
okay.
syndicate it into a podcast. But when the Passive Investing Made Simple show is really designed to help people understand what is this world of passive investing, and how they can get into their first or next deal with confidence.
Okay. All right, cool. So if they go to YouTube, they just, the search bar, type in Passive Investing Made Simple, and they'll get that. And then so the good news is they get to watch it audio and video, correct?
Exactly.
Awesome. Yeah. Oh, good, smart move. Okay. Well, listen, um, I hope everybody listening here was really paying attention. If you were driving, you can always re-listen to it, take notes when you're sitting down. We do put out show notes. You'll see show notes too on the podcast. And we want to ask you to please leave a review, because this is another one where you got a lot of golden nuggets today. I mean, you pretty much got the path laid out for you, and you've got resources here. And the best resource of all is Whitney Elkins-Hutten herself. I mean, she's such a good person. He's written a book. She's got her own training. She's got a podcast. Um, and you know, pretty much got everything you need in one spot there. And she's part of BiggerPockets too, which I highly endorse. I mean, I know those guys that created that organization. It really is a top-notch organization. So they're going to love us, because every time we talk, we mention BiggerPockets. So how about that for free advertising? But I appreciate you participating, listener, and Whitney, I appreciate you doing the delivering, and as Tim always used to tell us in Go Bunnets, getting the goods in the woods. You're bringing the goods today. So look for it. We'll have to do another one. I think there's a lot more we can dig into. If you're open for it, we can perhaps do another one a little bit later, So,
Sounds great. Thank you so
yeah,
much.
you're welcome. Well, listen, everyone, thanks for listening to Massive Passive Cash Flow Podcast. We'll see you on the next edition. In the meantime, take care of yourselves, and God bless you and your families.
Thanks for listening to this episode of Massive Passive Cash Flow. Be sure to go to realestatewithgarywilson.com to join our community and start building wealth today.